Coach, with Jalen Rager and John Hightower, we saw some good Sunday and some bad. Are the mistakes that we saw a byproduct of just no preseason and not much of an off season? And are they just going to have to, more than they typically would, have to learn on the job?
Yeah, I think that it's always a learn on the job, regardless when you're a rookie. There's a difference between OTAs, a difference between training camp practices, a difference between preseason and then obviously the regular season, and a difference for playoffs. So, you're kind of always learning on the fly as a rookie. They just unfortunately didn't have OTAs and didn't have preseason. So, my big thing, I've said this for a long time, from when I was a player with Tony Dungy, is no excuses, no explanations. We got to get the job done. They've got to continue to learn, continue to play fast, continue to play physical, and we've got to make plays, and that's what the deal's about. But those two guys, for their first game again, there's little things, details that they got to get cleaned up, and we concentrated on some things this week, and I think they were pretty diligent about their work, and was really pleased with their progress from week 1 to week 2 as far as practice and game, and then practice again. So hopefully that transitions back into the game on Sunday.
Jimmy, and then Paul Domowitch.
Hey, Aaron. Hightower in particular, had a really good camp and was rewarded week 1 with a healthy number of snaps, especially for like a 5th-round pick. He maybe didn't have the first game that he or the team was looking for. So how do you get him to sort of forget about week 1 and move forward with him?
Well, I mean, I don't like the word forget. I think you want him to learn from week 1, right, and continue to grow. And there's a few things that I know, a few plays I wish that he wishes he had back, and things like that. But you got to take the good with that, and you got to move on, and that's every week. I've been telling that to the guys since I got here, right? The weeks, they tend to blend together. You got to take the good and you got to learn from it. You got to take the bad and you got to learn from it. You got to progress each week. You ought to be getting better each week of the season. So, for a guy like him, getting the game experience game 1 is important. Now making sure game 2 is better than game 1, and that goes for everybody in the room. So, I wouldn't say it was a specific message more than just, hey, let's learn from what we did, and let's make sure when we go out here game 2 that we're not running into the same issues that we had in game 1.
Paul, and then John McMullen.
Yeah, Aaron, Deshaun played about 54% of the snaps on Sunday. Is that pretty much, granted you guys used a lot of 12 personnel, which affects your wide receiver snaps, but is that about what you anticipate his play total to look like with the rotation you're going to use?
Well, I'm not going to get into specifics on that, but definitely, just with him being an older guy, going into his 13th year, we wanted to make sure that we got the right trend, especially with no OTAs, no preseason games. We wanted to make sure we just didn't rush in and throw 70 snaps at him, and all of a sudden he's banged up, and you get basically a repeat of what happened last year. So I think that we were just trying to be smart with Deshaun, make sure that we get a healthy Deshaun for 16 weeks, and that's the goal. And I think that we just want to make sure that we continue to treat him as such. A healthy Deshaun on Sunday changes our football team. We know that. So we want to make sure that we're making sure that that he's there for 16 games, and we're helping to make sure that he's getting the reps in practice that he needs, and getting the reps and walkthrough that he needs. And then obviously as his body catches up to missing some of that preseason stuff, then we'll continue to increase his reps. And he's handled it really well and done a great job, and looking forward to seeing him play Sunday.
John, and then Les.
Hey, Aaron, obviously you made the transition at one point from college to the NFL, and you were coaching at the college level for a long time since you arrived here. If you look back, what is the most difficult transition for a rookie receiver to make to this league?
I would say it's two things. One, I would just say the speed and intensity of the game. Compared to practice, right? And that was a really big transition for me. And I think that those guys got a little taste of that on Sunday, just understanding how fast this thing's moving. And then for me, I was playing special teams as well, and just how violent special teams was in the NFL compared to in college. And I thought that those two things for me, it took me a game to figure that out. I went into game 2, I felt a lot better than I did game 1. But for me, just understanding how different the speed was, how different the violence and intensity was. And I know it's a different era of football from 2003 to what it is now, but it's still a violent sport, right? It's still one of those places that you can't really replicate a game until you get into a game. And so, there's every position has their different things. That was for me. And I think that those guys probably felt a little bit of that early on, but they, once you get a series or two under your belt, you're just playing football. So we just got to continue to take the good and move forward with it.
Les and then Martin.
JJ Arcega-Whiteside got a lot of snaps Sunday and no targets. What do you say to him after that? That's kind of what happened to him a lot last year. Do you reassure him that this is going to be like last year? Is there anything that has to be worked out between him and Carson Wentz? How do you view that?
No, I don't think it has to do with Carson. I just think, kind of the plays he was in, unfortunately, he didn't get the ball. It wasn't by choice. It wasn't by design. It just happened to go that way. And again, I did have a conversation with him to let him know, hey, look, we hope that that's not the case. You had a great camp. You played well. He's done so much better, than where he was at last year at this time. Where he was at the end of the season last year. You watch tape from some of those games late in the season last year compared to what he's been doing right now. It's like night and day. So I did reassure him, say, hey, you're in our plans. You're in our plans to have targets and things like that. But unfortunately, last game it didn't happen. So hopefully he gets a chance this week to get some targets, and confident that JJ is going to go out there and make plays for our offense.
Martin and then Dave.
Hey, Aaron. Last Sunday, Greg Ward converted like the 3rd and 11, as a slot receiver. What are you seeing from him? I mean, how reliable can he be in that role? And do you see similarities like between him and Jason Avant, for example?
That's a really good comparison. I think that they are similar, in body type, in quickness and things like that. I do think that, Jason made a career out of that, playing special teams, being a great third receiver, playing in the slot, and Greg made some really nice plays, and a couple of those he made were big time plays in that game, and Greg's confidence is really high right now, and he's going out there, he's really feeling the football field, he's feeling defenses, him and Carson are on the same wavelength on some things, and sometimes that takes a little bit of time, and I think that right now, he's a guy that we can rely on third down. And as you look at players that have been in the slot, whether it's a tight end in the slot or whether it's a receiver in the slot or whether it's backs that have lined up there, I mean, third down, that those guys, that's where they make their money. And so Greg did a good job of that game one. And again, looking forward to seeing him do that here in game 2 as well.
We have time for a couple more guys. So let's go Dave and then Bo.
Hey, Aaron, you mentioned the importance of not forgetting the previous game and kind of learning from it for those rookies. This is your first chance in a week after a game to go through that process with them. How have they handled it, and what's that been like with them?
They've been really good. I think both of these guys, the young guys, had a chance to watch the film on their own, and then obviously we watched it as a staff a couple times. You get a chance to go watch it with them and revisit it, and I think maturity between those two young guys is really good. I think you guys had a chance to talk to Jalen on Tuesday, and he said that, and it was good hearing him say what he said, because that showed me he's not only listening, but he's processing the information and moving forward. And I love that about Jalen and John. So both of those guys, they really did a nice job of not only hearing what we're saying, but having their own information too, and being able to move forward. And to me, that's the difference between a college player and a pro. A pro, you're going to watch on your own, you're going to gather your information, and then have your coach dissect it to you, the quarterback dissect it to you, and then you're able to read and react off of that. And I think that that both of those guys did a good job week 1 of just learning from it, moving on, and like I said earlier, not making the same mistakes or fixing the things that we wanted to fix throughout the week of practice this week, and really concentrating on that, not just fixing it, but truly concentrating on it. And that's that's an important detail for a young guy to get. And I'm glad they're there right now in week 2. And, hopefully, again, it keeps going as the season goes on, and they just keep getting better and better.
Last question here with Bo, and then we'll get Jalen in.
Hey, Coach, Jalen seems to have that sort of unnatural, pathological confidence in himself. Why do you think it is that is such a trait of wide receivers? Why is it that position that that requires that confidence?
Well, I think you're out there on the perimeter. You're by yourself. Everybody's out there watching you, and you got to have confidence in yourself, and you've got to be able to know that you're good enough to beat the man in front of you. It's point blank period, right? It's if you're not confident on the perimeter, whether it's a corner or a receiver, it's a problem. And Jalen, obviously comes from good lineage. His dad and I were teammates. We won a Super Bowl together. I mean, he's been around football his whole life. He's been a guy that when people have known who he is, he knows who his dad is. You're going to have confidence, right? And he's done nothing but as a young player, when he was little all the way until now, he's done really good things, and there's no reason for him not to have confidence. And he's got to continue to kind of take that confidence, bottle it up, and keep it pushing in the right direction. And he's done a good job of that so far. I've been really pleased with his progress so far, but confidence is the one thing. It's as a coach, you never want to overcoach a guy to have him lose his confidence. I think that's probably the worst thing you can ever do as a coach, and just keep empowering them and keep giving them as much information as you can, and keep letting them kind of get their own answers to the test as you kind of guide them along. So I've been really pleased with how he is, and John kind of the same way. John's a little more quiet confidence, and it kind of goes the same, And I think both of those guys coming out of Sunday, kind of had to look themselves in the mirror a little bit and go, what can I do better, and how can I do it better? And you come in Monday, it's a little unsure, or Tuesday you come in, it's a little unsure, and then bam, we're back at it Wednesday, and that confidence has got to get breathing out of your pores again. So that's kind of a neat deal as a young player, and then you get an older guy like Deshaun, and the confidence is there forever. He'll be 60, 70 years old and have the confidence that he has. So, it's pretty fun watching kind of guys in different phases of their career.